During Christmas, my sister pushed me down the stairs. My family chuckled as I lay at the bottom with a fractured wrist. My mother remarked, "You are always so theatrical." I did not protest. This incident happened 3 days ago. Then they received a letter that left them speechless. My sister shoved me down the stairs on Christmas Day. That is where the story begins. I hit the floor so forcefully that I heard my wrist break. The sound came before the pain, which was almost a relief. The pain followed moments later, sharp and intense, radiating all the way to my shoulder. I lay there gasping, attempting to sit up without crying out. Above me, her laughter echoed. Then came my mother's voice saying, "You are always so theatrical." Holding my broken wrist and trying to stay conscious, no one rushed to check on me or asked if I could move. They simply watched. My father muttered something about being more cautious. My younger brother found it amusing, saying it looked like a scene from a cartoon. I remained silent. Carefully, I stood up, step by step. Then I went to my room, grabbed my laptop, charger, and whatever I could fit into a bag using one hand. I lifted the bag with my good hand and walked out the front door. Nobody stopped me or inquired where I was headed. Let me go back a bit. Rewinding matters because if I start only with the fall, you might assume it was accidental, a slip, or clumsiness. It was not. It was deliberate. The conclusion of something I had devoted my entire life to. That day, I had spent 8 hours preparing Christmas dinner, the whole meal from scratch. Roasted chicken, 3 side dishes, homemade dessert. I cleaned the entire downstairs, folded napkins, even lit candles. All because they said they were too occupied to assist. My mother claimed she had freelance deadlines. My father was catching up on invoices. My sister had an exam to study for, which was ironic since she had hardly looked at a textbook in 2 years. So they put me in charge of cooking. Saying they asked was generous. They told me to do it, and I agreed because deep inside a part of me, the part that still clings to foolish hopes, believed that maybe this year they would notice, say thank you, enjoy what I prepared, and see me as someone who mattered. Instead, my father entered, glanced at the table and said, "A bit too much, don't you think?" My mother questioned why the stuffing was cold. Emily, my sister, just smirked and remarked, "Well, at least it smells like effort." That was the vibe from beginning to end. I told them I just needed to fetch the napkins before we sat down. They were in the hallway cupboard upstairs. As I climbed, she followed me. "You're always in the way," she muttered. I replied, "I'll be 1 second." She snapped back, "You always say that." Then her hands pushed me on the back. It was not playful, not a joke, just a shove. Then I was falling. I did not scream. I think that made it worse because they did not even realize something was wrong until they saw me lying on the floor. "Jesus, my brother," he said. "Did you just trip and fall?" "No," Lindsay replied calmly. She was craving attention. And my mom, God, she leaned over the railing and said, "Can we please not do this right now?" I went to the hospital alone, got an Uber, gripping my wrist the entire ride, breathing short and shallow. The doctors said it was a hairline fracture. A clean break, no surgery required, but I would need a splint and some time away from work. The nurse asked what happened, but I lied. Afterwards, I checked into a motel paid in cash, avoided returning home, didn't respond to the few texts that came through. I didn't even bother to ice my wrist. I just lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about the food still untouched on the table. Later that night, I opened my laptop and saw a file waiting for me. I clicked it open, watched, and smiled. 3 days later, they received a letter, and when they read it, their faces drained of color exactly as I expected. When people say it wasn't always like this, they usually mean things worsened over time. I cannot say that. It has always been like this. My earliest memory of Lindsay involves a hairbrush and a bald patch. I was 4 years old. She was 6. She told me she was playing hairdresser. By the time my mom walked in, the bathroom floor was a mess like a crime scene for dolls. I was crying uncontrollably, and Lindsay looked uninterested. Mom told me, "Don't be such a baby, Emily." That phrase haunted me for years. Don't be overly sensitive. Don't cause trouble. Don't mess things up. Lindsay could do anything, and I really mean anything, and never face the same judgment. She always seemed to get away with everything. Once I caught her striking me with the heel of an actual shoe. I ended up with a bruise on my temple, and my father just sighed deeply and said, "You girls have to learn how to get along." But we never really fought. I was the one who got hit. She just smiled, and I never retaliated. Not because I did not want to, but because I knew it would make no difference. The only time I tried to tell someone about it, I must have been around 13 years old. I told a teacher that my sister had left scratch marks all down my arm. The teacher promised to look into it. That evening, my parents trapped me in the living room like I was on trial. "Do you want to ruin your sister's future? She will never get into college if this is on her record. We are your family, and you are trying to break us apart." My mother slapped me once and only once. Afterwards, she cried and said she was just scared for Lindsay. At that moment, I believed her. Later, I realized she was only terrified that someone might start uncovering the truth about them. After that, I went silent. Not that anyone ever truly asked me anything anyway. We lived in my grandmother's house. Officially, when I was little, she still lived there as well, in the room just off the hallway that always smelled like lavender and pencil shavings. Grandma was the only one who ever defended me. When Emily shoved me once and I hit my chin on the table, my mother asked what I had done to provoke her. Grandma said, "She is only 10. Stop blaming her for being in the way." I loved that room. She often let me stay there. She was there when I was unwell, making tea sweetened with honey and gently tracing her fingers over the freckles on my arm, telling me they resembled constellations. She called me her North Star. I believe she understood what was happening. She never expressed it directly, yet she knew deep down. When I was 14, they transferred her to a care facility. Medical reasons, they claimed she required more attentive care. But I was aware of the reality. She was asking too many questions. She passed away 2 years later, when I was 16. I mostly recall the funeral for the chill in the air. It poured rain that blew sideways. Lindsay wore a dress so short it seemed like a belt. My mother delivered a eulogy that mentioned legacy 5 times and did not refer to me even once. Then came the reading of the will. We all gathered in the lawyer's office as if we were contestants in a game show. Mom and Dad whispered. Lindsay messaged on her phone, and I simply tried to steady my breathing. Then the lawyer began reading aloud. The house and all belongings were placed into a trust. It could not be sold or divided before my younger brother, Leo, reached the age of 25. After that, the estate would be split evenly among all of us: Mom, Dad, Lindsay, Leo, and me. However, there was a special clause with my name attached. If at any time before Leo's 25th birthday I could present reliable proof of mistreatment, I would gain exclusive ownership of the property. Any family member who harmed me would lose their portion and be expelled. The room fell silent. Then Lindsay laughed aloud, saying, "Wow, she really went all out with that one, like a full Disney villain." My father joined in with a quiet chuckle. My mother mentioned something about manipulative older women with favorites. I sat there motionless. She believed me. She actually believed me. It was the first moment in my life when I felt like someone noticed what was going on and decided enough was enough. Naturally, my family did not take it seriously. For nearly a month afterward, the atmosphere felt strangely pleasant. Lindsay stopped hitting me. My mother ceased snapping at me. My father even asked if I wanted to go grocery shopping. Everything felt very artificial and staged. Yet, it did not last. By the time spring arrived, everything had returned to the usual. Sarcastic remarks, extra chores dumped on me, jokes made at my expense during dinner. Lindsay slapped me once in the hallway, telling me I was blocking her way. My mother stood right there. She said, "Girls, not today. Not stop. Not don't hit your sister. Just not today." I got my first job when I was 17, working as a cashier at a grocery store. This meant 3 buses, 6 hours on my feet, and minimum wage. "Since you are contributing now," my father said, "we will charge you rent." Lindsay did not have to pay. Leo was exempt too. Only I had to pay. I paid, but I also saved. Not much, not enough to leave, but just enough to quietly set aside a little every month. Like a squirrel stores food before winter. I watched and noticed Lindsay becoming meaner when no one else was around. I saw my mother only yelled at me when the doors were shut. I realized they always branded me dramatic no matter what happened. So I bought a camera, motion activated and connected to my... I set up the camera above the staircase, then another one in the kitchen, and one more in the hallway. Nobody noticed. I did not know what to do with the recordings. I simply wanted to have them. I needed evidence because deep inside I suspected that one day something would happen again. That next time, I would not be alone at the foot of the stairs trying to convince myself it was just my imagination. The file had no real title, only a timestamp, but I understood what it contained. Sitting on the edge of the motel bed, still wearing the same jeans from Christmas Eve, one sock missing, my wrist aching, I clicked play. No special ritual, no snacks, only the dim light of a lamp, the scent of worn carpet, and a heavy lump in my throat. On the screen was the upstairs hallway frozen in time. I was halfway up the stairs, heading toward the linen closet like a fool, still attempting to be helpful. Lindsay followed me closely. Too close. You could read the expression on her face. Bored, impatient, already irritated by my presence. She muttered something I could not catch, then rolled her eyes as if I had just reminded her I was breathing. Then came the push. It was not dramatic, and that is what shocked me. It was neither theatrical nor exaggerated. Just 2 hands, firm and steady, pushing me from behind while I was off balance. I watched myself fall, the way my arms flailed, how my foot slipped. I hit the stairs like a rag doll, elbows, hips, shoulder, thudding down each step one by one. Then I noticed my own body lying there, completely motionless. One wrist twisted at an unnatural angle. A shattered plate lay at the bottom of the stairs, like a foreboding sign. Then came the voice. "Jesus," Leo said. "Did you actually fall?" "No," Lindsay snapped sharply. She was reaching out for attention. And then my mom's voice. "God!" It pierced the air, flat and cold like steel. "Can we not do this now?" That was the moment I paused the video and simply stared at my own lifeless body on the screen, feeling both nothing and everything at once. It wasn't the push or the fall that struck me. It was that nobody reacted. No one asked if I was all right. I watched it again, more slowly this time. My mom scrolling on her phone, my dad smirking, my brother snickering. This was everyday normal for them. That was what crushed me. Not the violence itself, but how ordinary it had become. The only change this time was that I held proof. The following morning, I checked out of the motel and ordered an Uber to Erin's place. I hadn't seen her in months. Erin used to live just 2 doors down from us when we were kids. She left as soon as she turned 18 and never looked back. Smart move. She opened the door wrapped in a fuzzy blanket, a spoon hanging from her mouth. She blinked and asked, "Are you okay?" I told her I just needed somewhere to crash for a while. She didn't question me. just opened the door wider and said, "I have waffles. The toaster kind, not the fancy kind." For the first time in days, a smile crept onto my face. By noon, I was sitting in the emergency room waiting area. I was signing forms with my left hand, while my right hand remained stiff and pounding inside a splint. I received a copy of my injury report without anyone asking questions. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I found myself standing outside the police station with my hoodie pulled over my head and a thumb drive tucked in my jacket pocket. I almost turned away. I almost convinced myself it was too much trouble. Then I remembered my mother calling me dramatic as I lay on the floor. So I went inside. The officer behind the desk seemed like he wanted to be anywhere else. I handed him my name, my identification, the medical report, and the video footage. He watched it once, then handed me a case number and said someone would get in touch. I am not sure if he truly cared, but I don't think that was the point. What mattered was having a record, something official, so they could not claim nothing happened. The following day, I contacted Alan Fisher, a civil lawyer. He was pricey, yet not unattainable. I had some savings, nothing extravagant, just enough I had quietly set aside from my shifts at the diner, money my parents believed I spent on clothes or junk food. It is amusing how that hidden stash turned out to be so useful. Alan met me in a sleek little office downtown. He wore a tie that did not quite match his shirt and sipped black coffee as if it kept him alive. At first, he did not take me seriously until I showed him the evidence marked with scratches. Then I played the footage. When it finished, he went silent. He said they were laughing. I understand. He nodded as if a connection had clicked in his mind. The audio could pose legal problems, he mentioned, but the video itself is clear. The intent is obvious, perhaps negligent, maybe even harmful. If the language of trust is strong, you might have a case. He reread the will and added, "Let's send them a letter." They received it the very next morning. I know this because my phone was flooded with 23 missed calls, 5 voicemails, and 12 texts from my mother. "This is absurd. We did nothing wrong." Then from my dad, "We are family. This is not how family deals with issues." From Lindsay, "You wanted this. You set me up. Who even installs a camera inside their own home?" And my favorite message came from my brother. "You made Mom cry. You are so selfish." I turned off my phone. Alan called in the afternoon and said they have hired a lawyer. I stayed silent. They are denying everything. They claim it was an accident, that the footage is deceptive, and that I orchestrated the whole event to get the house. I said nothing. They also insist that the recording breaks privacy laws and that using it will get me charged. I glanced out the window. The street was damp from rain. A woman in a red coat was scolding her dog. "Let them try," I told him. After a long silence, he asked, "Aren't you afraid?" "No," I replied. "I wasn't afraid before either. This was different. They wanted a battle. Fine." I already possessed the recordings. The fall, the laughter, my mother calling me dramatic. While I held my wrist at the base of the stairs, they were now attempting to turn the situation around, threatening me with legal action for recording inside my own home. I did not even argue. I simply messaged Alan and said, "Let's escalate this." He returned my call 5 minutes later. "They are bluffing," he assured me. "The audio might be complicated, but the video alone is more than sufficient. You do not need to say anything. Just file your civil motion, attach the footage, and let it tell the story." So, that is what we did. The very next day, they showed up at my doorstep, or more accurately, at Aaron's doorstep. Emily was not home when they arrived, which was probably for the best. My father took on the role of spokesperson, unsurprisingly. "We need to talk," he said, as if this were a parent-teacher meeting rather than a lawsuit. I stayed still. I stood behind the glass storm door, staring silently. My mother wrung her hands nervously like an actor in a church play. Lindsay did not even bother to feign regret. And Leo, my younger brother, crossed his arms as if he had been unfairly punished. I did not open the door. I think you are overreacting, Dad tried again. You tripped. Accidents happen, right? I responded from behind the door. I broke my wrist. You were in the way, Lindsay muttered. Do not, I told her. Not this time. Okay, listen, Dad said, his voice softening as though I was a child again. This is going to tear the family apart. Your sister was just accepted into university. Do you want to ruin that because of one shove? One injury, I replied. One lifetime marked by it. Treated like garbage. Mom glanced up. Her expression was tight, caught between guilt and anger. We didn't come here to argue, she said. We came to ask you to stop. You've made your point. I almost chuckled. My point? Yes, she snapped. You've humiliated us. You've turned this entire situation into a spectacle. And for what reason? Because you were pushed down the stairs. That's not how it happened, Lindsay snapped. I have it on video. I said. You recorded us? Leo said, his face contorted. That's really messed up. You think pushing someone down the stairs is acceptable, but filming it crosses the line. No one responded. You're doing this for the house, Lindsay said abruptly. Just admit it. You knew exactly what you were doing. I stared at her. I was preparing Christmas dinner when you pushed me. I said if I were faking it, I would have picked a day when I wasn't peeling carrots for 6 hours. Dad sighed. You've always been headstrong, but this is going too far. You don't get to decide what is too far anymore. He took a deep breath. You're upset. Fine. But lawyers are involved now. You could lose everything. You might face consequences for that footage. You think your lawyer will protect you when things get nasty? It already got nasty, I said. You just weren't watching closely enough. Silence stretched for a while. Then Mom tried again, this time speaking softly. You are not a victim. Then why are you here? I asked. There was no reply. Lindsay stepped forward. I never meant to push you like that. I was just trying to get through. You were standing in the way on the stairs. I gave you a gentle push. You said I shoved you. I lost my balance and fell. My wrist broke. This is real. I am not making it up or exaggerating anything. Meanwhile, everyone around just laughed. I did not laugh. Leo muttered, I was lost about what to do. That makes us both confused, someone said. Mom's voice trembled as she asked, Do you seriously want this to become public? Do you expect the court to see an innocent little victim in you? I stared at her deeply for some time. No, I said, but they will understand you clearly. I stepped back from the doorway. You should leave now. Please, Dad begged. Don't do this. You already did, I replied. I only pressed record. Then I walked away. I did not watch them walk out. I had no need to do so. 2 more weeks passed. Then Alan called again. They have put forward a settlement offer, he explained. I stayed silent. They are willing to give up the house completely, forgo all residency rights. They will move away within a month, surrender their portion of the trust, and promise never to contact you again. Still, I said nothing. There is one condition, Alan continued. I already guessed what it was. If you drop the charges and agree never to release the footage publicly, he said. I gazed out the window. Outside, snow was falling gently, like soft ashes floating down. I wondered if they had begun packing yet. Tell me about the legal consequences, I asked. If you move forward, Alan warned, with that video, your sister could be charged with felony assault. She might face jail. It is not certain, but it is very likely. If I accepted the agreement, she pleads down to a minor offense. Community service, no jail time, no criminal record, which would save her university. I took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. Would she admit guilt? Yes, he said. It is all in the documents. She will confess she pushed you. The record will be sealed, but it will still be there, and the house will become entirely yours. I closed my eyes. This was the critical moment, the event they never expected to happen. The day someone challenged them, and they could not escape by using charm or manipulation or crocodile tears. They wanted forgiveness without facing any consequences. But I had experienced consequences my whole life. Every bruise, every difficult task, every time I was told I was too much, they could have stopped it. At any time, years ago, they chose not to. I did not smile, not truly. But I said, we have a deal. Lindsay received 60 hours of community service. No jail, no criminal record. She will probably still get her degree. She will still have a life. They signed over the house, moved out, and left. They even paid Alan's fee through clenched teeth and sent an email receipt. As for me, I moved in and cleaned the walls thoroughly, changed the curtains, and donated the dishes. I found a job closer to where I live and took my time recovering. I bought a small Christmas tree and placed it by the window just for myself. Not really for Christmas since it was March, but it felt like a fresh start. Emily came over that evening with wine and some treats from the bakery. Does it feel strange? She asked. Living here? I paused to consider it. The atmosphere feels peaceful, I remarked with genuine warmth. She gave a small nod in agreement. So, what happens now? I shrugged my shoulders. I suppose I will prepare dinner, watch some silly show, and maybe relearn how to breathe deeply. We lifted our glasses together. To freedom, she declared. I remained silent but raised my glass as well. This time, there was no laughter. So, what do you think? Did I cross the line or was it not nearly enough? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to hear more stories like this, feel free to subscribe.